Good evening, everyone. Very brief introduction. 23 years ago, I sat in theater number 2 and watched Eddie Muller introduce The Nightmare Alley while I was sitting with Colleen Gray and Linda Christian came into the theater. So here we are in 2026, and we are now seeing a new version of Nightmare Alley, and I mean a new version with, in my mind, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, of contemporary directors, and his wife and partner, Kim Morgan. So please welcome Guillermo del Toro and Kim Morgan. Welcome again.
Thank you. This has been a long time we've been trying to come here with the movie for...
Yeah, we have been emailing back and forth for a couple years, and Guillermo basically told me, be patient, it'll happen, and here we are.
I tell that to my dietitian also. Here we are. But the main thing is I really wanted to do the right version, or, both versions, the color and the black and white, are very different, but very beautiful. And I know the first one got a release, but the second one, this version, it has a deeper story. It's the first time we're gonna see it in the world tonight.
Yeah, this is the very first.
Yeah. I was finishing it 10 days ago.
Yeah, the email and the behind the scenes drama of getting this here, it was kind of like Guillermo calling me saying, Alan, I don't think you reserved the right film. Yes. And I go, really? Yeah. And so we talked, and then
a friend of mine. You're about to fuck up.
Yeah, the doo-doo is about to hit the fan.
Yeah.
And so in the midst of emails, phone calls from Fox Searchlight, a lot of people who really made this possible.
Yeah, thank you.
A friend of mine called me and says, how's it going? And I said, I'm being directed by Guillermo del Toro. What could be better? Going back to the beginning of this, how did you and Kim collaborate on this adaptation?
30 years ago, Ron Perlman gave me the book and said, I would like you to direct me as Stan on this.
Oh, really? Ron Perlman as Stan.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I read it, and I said, I love it. Let's do it. And then we went to Fox, and they laughed at us. Yeah. They said, what are you doing, a Mexican movie? And,
why is a Mexican director?
You want a library title?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about it.
Yeah, we started talking about it, and I didn't know that story with Ron, but I love the novel, and we were talking about working together on something, and we both talked about the novel and the differences in the novel. We love the original film, of course, but how much different the novel is, and how
absolutely
we wanted to adapt the novel. And then you told me that story, so we started working on that and became quite obsessed with William Lindsay Gresham. Yes. In fact, I think I got a little obsessed too much. I mean,
little obsessed.
I mean, reading everything.
It's very hard to find deep, and there's a lot of contradictory
stories
about him and the making of the film.
Oh, and how the film is actually between Tyrone Power and George Jessel. I won't get into the long winding story about who was brought.
Who owns the rights and all of that.
And part of it was we went into Fox and we were able to look in the library letters and this and that to just have it clear.
Right.
Because we were trying to honor. It's impossible to adapt the novel exactly as the novel.
Of course not.
Hitchcock used to joke that a goat was eating a can of film and then eats the book and says, I prefer the novel. It's impossible to do it, but we knew we could honor things that were different than the first one. Mm-hmm. So we went to him saying what he wanted, interviews, whatever we could gather.
Right.
And we did transcribe the book entirely, which took a long time.
You actually typed the book out in long, which is actually the way John Huston did The Maltese Falcon in '41. He typed out the book and started just pen and inking. Is that how you did that?
So we did that, and then you have to go through and you have to cut. And as a writer, and I want to honor him. I'm like, oh, I don't want to take that out, you know? So that was actually really hard for me. You have to think like a filmmaker, though, like Guillermo, who's like,
I'm
get it
brutal.
out, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was the beginning of it. And then I would write pages and pages. It would go to you.
Yeah, it's
You
like
would write
a
pages.
custody.
Okay.
You get the
Yeah.
kids, then I get the kids.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to tell me what you're doing. You don't have to ask permission. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The only condition is I'm right at the end.
That's not always true.
But-
Not always true. That's
yeah.
that I learned this time.
I'll be careful here.
No,
But I mean,
it's better.
did this build your two relationship together?
yeah.
It must
Yeah.
have. It
Yeah,
must
we're
have.
writing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we're
good.
writing again. It was fantastic because it was coming from love of the novel,
Right.
love of the book, love of the author.
Right.
A very thorny, very tortured, very interesting guy.
Really
Oh
interesting
yeah.
guy.
Oh yeah.
I remember Theodore Sturgeon wanted to meet him desperately, and he says in one of his diaries that he met him and he was unsustainably brutal.
Yeah.
He was not a nice, happy-go-lucky fella. you know.
Right. Right.
It was, and we got fascinated by little things like the passage where he says Stan is the author.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in Nick Tosh's introduction, which is great, to the New York Review of Books, when they re-released the novel, he said that he found I think it was in some kind of archive, that Stan, that he is Stan, basically. And so Gresham, you could see that it was so personal to him.
Oh, it
and
was.
He one of the things that, and Tosh's talks a lot about it in his introduction, the alcoholism aspect of it
Right.
was
Spectre, yeah.
was a
Yes.
big part of it.
Right.
And so some of the things, as I read the novel and read more about Gresham and read things like Monster Midway, which was actually, that book was also really helpful,
Very
in
helpful.
adapting.
Yeah. I sold my Monsters Midway to Brian Light, who has it somewhere.
I'm going to look for
Yeah.
next president. We could get that for
But
you.
we could tackle Ezra Grindle a lot more gritty because he's
Yeah.
quite a gritty character in the book.
In the original movie, Taylor Holmes as Ezra Grindle's kind of he's not a bad person, but in this movie and in the book,
novel, yeah.
he is not a good guy
No,
at all.
but also the sort of fusion in my mind with Todd Browning in a very oblique way. You
Yeah.
know, both had this prurient interest in human nature.
Yeah.
And they can be very cruel. I think Gresham basically is having a dialogue with his masculinity and a dialogue with the cosmos through the novel. He sort of decomposes his id and his self into characters, and they talk amongst themselves.
Right.
So that started with like a movie. I wanted to have the circle as a symbol, both for the pit of the
Right.
geek, the circular notion of starting with a geek, ending with another, blah, blah, blah. And that started guiding us little by little.
Right. Now, the production of the film in Canada got interrupted by COVID,
Yeah.
but I've read that you felt that was more of an attribute that helped you in the end.
Well,
Is that true?
originally, when I was very, very young, I became the mascot of Gabriel Figueroa. And he kind of adopted me as a pet, mostly. But we talked a lot, and he started to tell me how the art direction for black and white was a lot different than color. And I was very interested in that. And I tried with Shape of Water to do it in black and white. I asked, thank you.
Yes.
I asked to Fox, how much for it in color, how much for it in black and white? They said, in black and white, 15, in color, 19. I said, it's in color. You know, but I wanted to do that. And with this movie, I started thinking, what if we are directed in a way that, because if you watch Douglas Sirk, of all people,
Right.
Thunder in the Hill is great in black and white, right? But if you watch All That Heaven Allows, and you turn the color of your TV, his contrast ratio is black and white.
Really?
He does this amazing thing. And I said, well, if I do that, I can always go to that.
Black
and
and
then
white.
COVID came, and we had shot all the city. And I started doing a black and white pass on my own. And then I tried to recruit Bradley, tried to recruit the studio.
Right.
And there was a moment when we were going to release it in black and white.
Really? What did I'm curious as to what the studio said about that, because
Well, it's so strong because then during the carnival, we could really nail that notion. And I said, one day, it'll be black and white.
Right.
Unlike Shape of Water, this one will be one day. So we prepared both versions. And that's why in the first release, when COVID hit, it was released the same weekend as Spider-Man and the same weekend as Omicron, the variant. So we didn't have any adults in the theater.
Yeah.
So we had to release it again in black and white. I said, we have the black and white that I prepared.
This sounds like Bill Friedkin telling me about the release of Sorcerer during the week of Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah, that type of phenomenon. So
this,
anyway.
it gave us that, and then we wanted to expand it. So I am very sorry that it's 2 hours 30 because of the time, but I'm very happy that it's 2 hours 30 because we have a lot more density.
Yeah.
There was also one more thing.
Go
there
ahead.
was also during that break, the carnival that had been built. Actually, because it had been sitting there for so long as we were on break.
7 months.
It looked a little more
really?
run
The set
down.
was sitting there the
it
whole
looked
time?
better when we shot.
Because that set of the Funhouse, I was looking for Orson Welles in the mirror.
Yes.
You know, that's the only thing. That was the only thing that was missing.
That carnival, what we did is we reproduced the popcorn bags, we reproduced the Cupid dolls, we reproduced the tickets, we reproduced everything.
Yeah.
And then COVID came, and they said, we are going to spend this much money folding the carnival. And I said, keep it out.
Yeah.
Keep it out, let it age. And so it got the Canadian winter, the Canadian summer, the Canadian spring.
You got the weathered look for free. You didn't have to pay anyone to do that.
We said we should not
That's
fold
great.
it. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the casting. How did you end up with Bradley as Stanton Carlisle?
Well, Kim suggested Bradley. You know.
Yeah.
You want to talk about?
Well, I thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Bradley's family.
Yeah. I just thought Bradley had something in his eyes that I really saw. I saw it in Silver Linings Playbook and in other films. He has a little bit of madness to him that I thought we could really work with. That and also a kind of a tortured quality there, and I also thought when we were working with him too, we were talking a lot about actors like Dana Andrews, and there was he was holding his cards close to his chest, and I was thinking about how sometimes Dana Andrews does that.
It's very minimalistic.
Yes,
very minimalistic, and so Bradley really played it that way, and I think Bradley is a brilliant actor. So
he certainly is.
Yeah.
And I mean, the actors you have in there from Willem Dafoe. I mean,
David Strathairn, Toni Collette.
It's so well cast.
It was a banquet.
Even my buddy Jim Beaver is the sheriff.
We love Jim.
Jim was our guest here last year.
With Bradley, we knew also one of the things I love is movies without dialogue for long passages.
Yeah.
And we wanted for the first 20 minutes to have Bradley silent and not know where you stand. And the first time he talks to the geek.
Yes.
The first time he says anything in the darkness.
Yes.
And to cast the movie, I thought about that, about who can represent the feminine, one side of the feminine, one side of sort of Jungian casting in a way. Because to me, the novel is Gresham alone thinking about things that exist in him.
Well, there's so much fear in the novel, and there's so much. Gresham he was a seeker himself. He went through so many different. He was the psychology.
He was the fool. Yeah. Well, the thing that I thought was
in
interesting.
Dianetics for a time, even.
He coincides with L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah,
he does.
He was a
I
singer
just thought
in
it was
Greenwich
so
Village
interesting.
at one point.
Your early films like Pan's Labyrinth, I think The Devil's Backbone, set in the Spanish.
Thank you for saying earlier. I feel younger.
But great films. Well, this isn't about the Spanish Civil War. And then I read, well, Gresham narrated a lot of this about the geek and everything while he was serving in the
Exactly.
Abraham Lincoln
Well,
Brigade.
he
and the
met
Civil
he
War.
met the guy Clem.
Clem, yeah.
Right.
He met Clem while he was in the Lincoln Brigade.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And he told him the story of the geek. That's when he first learned the story.
It
of the
stayed on
geek.
him.
Right.
And it never, he said he had to write it out. It haunted him so much that he had to write Nightmare Alley.
Right.
But both
And I
him
think that, sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
please.
I think that is something that terrified him because they would find geeks at the time, they either coming back from the war, they were addicted to
The puppy.
morphine,
Yeah.
or they were alcoholics,
Yeah.
and they would pull them out. And so I think something like that was as deeply terrifying to Gresham as he was an alcoholic.
Right.
And
And-
so I think that the geek,
And
he
it
saw,
was a time where the carnivals were in decline.
yeah,
They were
Right.
basically truly the geeks were illegal.
yeah.
Of course they were. Yeah.
They were shown as a special attraction in
Right.
the 10-in-1.
Right.
You paid extra.
Right.
But if they caught you with a geek show,
Yeah, that's when the sheriffs come in.
exactly.
And all of
So
that. Yeah.
so it was.
Yeah.
But we love
Yeah.
that both Browning and him are poets that are unapologetic about a side of America
Right.
that is really, really dark. And we started seeking also on neo-realist films because it's not an accident that the neo-realist filmmakers were so interested in noir.
Yeah.
Because
You know?
noir was neorealist.
Neo-realism
Yeah.
is the have and the have-nots.
Yeah, and the original one wouldn't have gotten made unless Tyrone Power basically told Zanuck,
Yeah.
I want you to make this film. You need to make this film. And he was the biggest star there. And they made it. And I'm really glad that you guys made this one
Yeah.
because this is a knockout and really interesting. The whole black and white thing. I mean, I've heard you talk about how color has influenced
Yes.
you, and you started out in makeup and artistry and all of that, but yet you came back to the roots of this story and this film in black and white.
Well, the hardest thing to color correct is black and white. because white, it can be oyster white, yellow white, warm white, red white, magenta. It's extremely hard, and the eye reacts. If you didn't film it natively on film, it reacts. If you go from a day scene to a night scene, your eye adjusts, and even although the information all says is the same temperature in the whites, it's very hard. We spent weeks and weeks and weeks with this. I financed this version of the movie. I paid for the mix, I paid for the color correction, I paid for a new soundtrack, etc., because I wanted it to exist. It's coming out in both versions in November.
So
Morning
is this version going to be out on physical media,
Yes.
streaming?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, physical media.
All right. So we get
And-
to see it here tonight. One thing I could add as we wrap this up is that we were going to have a surprise guest
Yeah,
here tonight.
but it's Mother's Day.
But yeah, Bradley Cooper was going to be here
Yeah.
tonight.
Sorry.
But
Sorry.
wait a minute. You got to wait for the punchline. Come on. We have a film clip of Bradley that
Yes,
we will run
saying
after we
hello.
get off the stage that he sent specially for Guillermo. And you know the other thing.
And he is in his pajamas,
Yeah, he's in his pajamas. By the
which look like Douglas Fairbanks pajamas.
But you know what? What I really love about you is the fact that you're not Michael Curtiz and you're not William Wyler. You're Guillermo del Toro, and you're a monster kid.
They're all
just
Williams.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Just like me, grew up reading famous monsters of filmland and the same horror movie. We talk
Taking
about the same
Foriac
horror
for Cherry
movies.
Pie, yeah.
I bury the living and everything, and you've never lost that, and thank God you haven't.
What I think it is, and it happens to people that love noir, people that love horror, sci-fi, whatever it is, people don't understand that genre is one of the easiest languages to elevate a story into a parable.
That's true.
That is profound and that can discuss essential elements of humanity in an incredibly elevated and potent way. But those of us that love any genre know that this is true. And I've dedicated my life to do that.
Well, I tell you what, there's millions of people that are grateful that you've dedicated your life to
Most
doing
of them
what
in
you
the
do.
bank where I owe
Yes,
money.
yes. Any rate, so we will run the clip from Bradley Cooper, but I have to thank Guillermo and Kim for coming out to do
Thank
this.
you.
And by the way, For those of you who haven't been here, it has been 15 years since Kim had Julie Garfield on the stage, and she hasn't aged a bit, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you, Kim. And thank all of you for coming out tonight. God bless. Thank you.
And now Bradley Cooper in his pajamas.
Hi, everybody. What an incredible event tonight is, giving birth to this version of Nightmare Alley with a script by Kim Morgan and Guillermo del Toro that was so riveting and caught us all for so many years, the cast and crew, as we made this film. For it to now have a life in this way, in this version, is beyond exciting. I'm sorry that I can't be there today. It's Mother's Day, so I couldn't get out of New York, but I'm there in spirit. I can't wait for you to watch this. And thank you, Guillermo, for all the work that you've done, and Kim, bringing this to life. So please enjoy this wonderful black and white version of Nightmare Alley.